Welcome to this explainer. You know, when we think of epic medieval travel, Marco Polo usually comes to mind, right? But today, we're diving into the life of a 14th century Moroccan scholar whose journeys literally make modern backpacking look like a quick walk in the park. We're talking about Ibn Battuta. Through his incredibly vivid writings, the medieval world just completely comes alive. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's start with a number that is just staggering. 75,000 miles. That's almost 120,000 kilometers. Try to wrap your head around that for a second. That is roughly 3 times the circumference of the Earth. And remember, this single explorer covered that massive distance over the course of 30 years, way before cars, trains, or planes were even a thought. It was just camels, horses, rickety wooden ships, and his own 2 feet. Part 1. The Call to Adventure, from Tangier to Mecca.
So our epic quest kicks off back in 1325. We've got this 21-year-old guy, Ibn Battuta, leaving his highly respected family in Tangier, Morocco. Now, at first, his goal was pretty straightforward. He just wanted to perform the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. But something clicked inside him on that road. He left us this beautifully intimate diary-like reflection, writing that he left without companion, driven by an overmastering impulse within me. It's fascinating, right? What started purely as a religious duty just snowballed into this intense, lifelong wanderlust. He was suddenly starving for knowledge.
And if you glance at this timeline, you really get a sense of the sheer scale here. This wasn't some quick gap year or summer abroad. This was literally his entire adult life dedicated to charting relentless travel across North Africa, through the Middle East, and all the way deep into Asia.
Which brings us to part 2, a world without borders, beyond the pilgrimage.
Right, so after surviving some brutal desert crossings and swinging through Egypt, a place he absolutely loved, by the way, calling it the mother of cities because of its massive wealth and libraries, he finally hits Mecca. Pilgrimage complete. But standing there, instead of packing his bags for Morocco, he makes this massive, life-altering call. He proclaims, "I shall never stop traveling." He just completely surrendered to that curiosity, and that single decision pushed him to seek out new scholars and cultures across the globe.
And he didn't just passively pass through these new lands. He really dug in. He was documenting everything. We're talking the wealthy Indian Ocean commerce down in the East African Swahili trade ports, the amazing hospitality of the Turkish locals in Anatolia. Over in China, he was just blown away by their advanced craftsmanship, their paper money and porcelain. Oh, and the immense gold trade of the Mali Empire? He saw it all.
Moving on to part 3, the glitz and the danger, surviving the medieval world.
Okay, picture this. It's around 1333 and he lands in India. He's so well educated that the ruler of Delhi actually appoints him as a high-ranking judge. Boom, suddenly he's a government official. But high status brought high risk. He paints this terrifyingly vivid picture of the volatile Sultan of Delhi. On the one hand, the guy was intelligent, educated, and incredibly generous. But on the other, cruel and wildly unpredictable. Ibn Battuta noted that the Sultan might literally shower you with gold on Tuesday and order your execution on Wednesday. Talk about walking on eggshells at work. Despite the constant stress, he proved to be an amazing observer. Before he inevitably fell out of royal favor, he was meticulously writing down everything that caught his eye. The massive agricultural yields, the luxury markets, exotic wildlife like elephants and peacocks. He even detailed the intense monsoon rains and incredibly complex social customs like caste divisions and the practice of sati. His notes give us some of the absolute best surviving descriptions of medieval India.
So, eventually, the Sultan decides to send him off as an ambassador to China. Sounds great, right? Well, it was an absolute disaster. Seriously, it reads like an action movie. First, highway robbers attack him. Then, an enormous storm completely wrecks his ship. All the priceless royal gifts he was carrying for the Chinese emperor swallowed by the sea. He washed ashore with quite literally nothing but his life. But, incredibly, against all odds, he just kept going through the Maldives and Sri Lanka.
Honestly, the fact that he survived 30 years on the road is nothing short of a miracle. Look at what he was up against on a daily basis: violent highwaymen, deadly sea storms, unpredictable diseases, terrifying court conspiracies, and total shipwrecks. Death was always just one wrong turn away, which really highlights his unbelievable courage and grit to just keep moving forward.
And that leads us into part 4, the masterpiece, preserving the 14th century.
Finally, after decades of non-stop adventure, he heads back home to Morocco around 1349. Now, most people would just kick back and retire, right?
Not him. He sits down with a scholar named Ibn Jazai and just starts dictating his memories. They called the book the Rihla, which basically translates to journey or travel account. And thank goodness he did this, because without the Rihla, so many granular details about daily life, food, and politics across medieval Africa, India, and the Islamic world would be completely lost to history. It's a literal time machine.
To truly understand his dominance, let's look at this heavyweight matchup against the guy everyone knows, Marco Polo. Look at this. Ibn Battuta traveled almost 5 times further, 120,000 kilometers compared to Polo's 24,000. Plus, while Polo was a Venetian merchant hyper-focused on trade and commerce, Ibn Battuta's background as a scholar and judge meant he offered a vastly richer, deeper dive into the actual society, religion, and culture of the people he met.
Part 5. A Legacy Beyond Time, Connecting Civilizations.
Ibn Battuta passed away around 1368, but his vivid memories of kings, saints, and shifting empires totally transformed the very concept of travel. He elevated it into this grand, intellectual adventure that bridges cultures even today. He crossed literal oceans, deserts, mountains, and empires to document a world that simply doesn't exist anymore. Today, there are airports and research centers named after him, honoring a guy who observed humanity with unmatched curiosity. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. If Ibn Battuta were to drop into our modern world today with his incredibly sharp eye, what do you think he'd write about us? And maybe more importantly, where's your own curiosity going to take you? I really hope his legendary journey inspires you to step outside your own borders and learn something new. Thanks for exploring with me.